The crystalline palace floated in the darkness of space, orbiting a star that had begun its slow death. Inside its transparent walls, panic spread like poison through water. Queen Lyravel of the Veltari Empire had not opened her eyes for 3 solar cycles. 3 cycles of silence, 3 cycles of waiting, 3 cycles of fear. High Advisor Thelran stood before the biostasis chamber, his 4 hands clasped behind his back. His silver skin reflected the blue glow of the medical equipment that surrounded the sleeping queen. He had seen many things in his 200 years of service, but nothing like this. The queen floated in the chamber, suspended in a clear fluid that kept her body alive. Her chest rose and fell with perfect rhythm. Her hearts beat in sync. Every scan showed a healthy body, but her mind was gone, locked away somewhere no one could reach. "Another healer has failed, Advisor," said Captain Velkaris, the head of the Royal Guard. She stepped into the chamber room, her armor making soft clicking sounds. The Sindari cybernetic specialist could not break through the barrier. Thelran closed his eyes. The Sindari were machines more than flesh. If they could not reach the Queen's consciousness, who could? "How many does that make?" 47, Velkaris answered. Her voice was steady, but Thelran heard the worry beneath it. "We have tried healers from every corner of the Empire. The Orvani mind readers, the Mektari surgeons, even the ancient Peldari who claim to speak with spirits. Nothing works." "And the border worlds?" Velkaris looked away. "We lost 6 more yesterday. The Krathen pushed deeper into our territory. Without the Queen's neural signature, our defense network runs at 30% capacity. Our fleets cannot coordinate properly. It is only a matter of time before they reach the core worlds." Thelran felt the weight of billions of lives pressing down on him. The Veltari Empire had stood for 10,000 years. It spanned 1,200 worlds. All of it depended on one woman who would not wake up. He looked at Queen Lyravel through the transparent chamber. She was beautiful even in sleep. Her skin had a soft glow like moonlight on water. Her long hair floated around her face in the suspension fluid. She looked peaceful. But Thelran knew better. Something was wrong. Something was broken inside her mind. "There must be something we have not tried," he said. "We have exhausted every option in the known galaxy." Velkaris replied, "Unless you believe in fairy tales." Before Thelran could respond, the door to the chamber opened. A young alien walked in, escorted by 2 guards. Thelran recognized the species immediately. Human, from the primitive world called Earth. They had only made contact with humanity 5 years ago. The humans had barely reached their own moon when the Veltari found them. They were children compared to the great civilizations of the galaxy. "High Advisor Thelran," one of the guards said. "This is Kim Do-yun. He is part of the cultural exchange program from Earth. He was scheduled for a tour of the palace." Thelran looked at the human. Do-hyun was young, perhaps 25 in Earth years. He wore simple clothes and carried a datapad. His dark eyes looked around the chamber with curiosity. When those eyes landed on the Queen, they widened. "I apologize," Thelran said, his voice cold. "We are not accepting visitors today." The tour is cancelled, but Do-hyun did not move. He stared at Queen Lyravel with an expression that Thelran could not read. Humans were difficult to understand. They showed too much emotion. They made decisions with their hearts instead of their minds. It was one of the reasons the Veltari considered them primitive. "What happened to her?" Do-hyun asked. "That is not your concern," Thelran replied. "Please leave." "She is in a coma," Do-hyun said, still staring at the Queen. "But not a normal one. Her body is healthy. This is something else." Velkaris moved forward, her hand on her weapon. "How would you know that, human?" Do-hyun finally looked away from the Queen. He met Velkaris's eyes without fear. "I study medicine on Earth. I specialize in unusual cases. I have seen something like this before." Thelran laughed. It was not a kind sound. "You have seen something like this? On your primitive world? Impossible. We have consulted with the greatest minds in the galaxy. What could a species that still uses chemical fuel possibly know that we do not?" Something flashed in Do-hyun's eyes. Anger, perhaps. Or determination. "Maybe nothing," he said quietly. "But I would like to try." "Absolutely not," Thelran said. "Guards, escort him out." The guards moved to take Do-hyun's arms, but he spoke again. "Does she have anyone who loves her? Anyone close to her?" The question made everyone stop. Velkaris looked at Thelran. The advisor's silver skin darkened, a sign of discomfort among his people. "The Queen is above such things," Thelran said. She is genetically designed to rule without emotional attachment. It prevents corruption and bias. So she is alone, Do-hyun said. It was not a question. She leads an empire of billions, Thelran said. How could she be alone? That is exactly how, Do-hyun whispered. But Thelran heard him. The guards pulled Do-hyun toward the door. He did not fight them, but he looked back at the queen one more time. His expression was sad. Thelran found this strange. How could this human feel sadness for someone he had never met, someone who was not even his species? After Do-hyun left, Valkaris approached Thelran. What did he mean by that? About the queen being alone? Thelran shook his head. I do not know. Human emotions are irrational. Forget it, but Valkaris did not forget. She looked at the queen in her chamber. For the first time in 3 cycles, she wondered if they had been trying to solve the wrong problem. They had focused on the queen's body and mind. But what about her heart? Advisor, Valkaris said slowly. The queen spoke to me once before she fell into this sleep. She said something strange. What did she say? She said she was tired. Not physically tired. She said she was tired of carrying everything alone. She said she envied other species who believed in soulmates. She laughed after saying it like it was a joke, but I do not think she was joking. Thelran felt something cold move through him. The queen's emotional state is irrelevant. This is a medical condition, is it? Valkaris asked. We have tried every medical solution. They all fail. What if the human is right? What if this is not about her body at all? Thelran wanted to dismiss the idea, but he could not, because deep down he knew Valkaris might be right. He had known Queen Lyravel for 50 years. He had seen her grow into her role. He had watched her make impossible decisions. He had seen her sentence criminals, lead armies, and negotiate peace. He had never seen her smile, not once. Not truly. Even if that were true, Thelran said, what could we do? We cannot change who she is. We cannot give her a companion. She is the queen. She must remain separate. Maybe, Valkaris said, but maybe that is what is killing her. Outside the palace, Do-hyun walked with his escort through the crystalline halls. His mind raced. He had seen that condition before, not in person but in stories, in legends, in the fairy tales that every human child knew. A princess who would not wake, a curse that no magic could break, and a solution that seemed too simple to be real. He knew what the Veltari would say. They would call it primitive superstition. They would laugh at the idea. But Do-hyun had learned something in his studies. Sometimes the old stories contained truth. Sometimes they remembered what science had forgotten. Sometimes the answer was not in technology or medicine. Sometimes it was in connection, in emotion, in love. He looked back at the palace. Somewhere inside, a queen slept, alone, trapped, waiting for someone to understand. Do-hyun made a decision. He would find a way back to that chamber. He would try what no one else had tried. And if it worked, the galaxy would learn something new about humanity. If it failed, well, he would probably be executed. But some things were worth the risk. Some people were worth saving even if you had never met them. Do-hyun sat in his small quarters on the human diplomatic ship, staring at his data pad. He could not stop thinking about Queen Lyravel. The image of her floating in that chamber stayed in his mind. There was something familiar about it, something he had seen before but not in real life, in stories. In old tales his grandmother used to tell him. You are wasting your time, said Park Mina from across the room. She was a xenoanthropologist, studying alien cultures. She had come to the Veltari Empire with Do-hyun as part of Earth's first real diplomatic mission. Now she watched him with concern. The Veltari made it very clear. They do not want our help. I know, Do-hyun said, but I cannot let this go. There is something here, something important. Mina sighed and walked over to him. She looked at his screen. It showed dozens of files all open at once. Stories from Earth, fairy tales, legends, folk stories from every culture humanity had ever produced. Sleeping Beauty? Mina read. Snow White? Brunhilde? Do-hyun, these are children's stories, are they? Do-hyun asked. He pulled up another file. Look at this. Every human culture has a version of this story. A woman who falls into a sleep that cannot be broken. Healers fail. Magic fails. Time passes. And then someone breaks the curse with a kiss, with love, with connection. It is a metaphor, Mina said. It is not real. But what if the metaphor is based on something real? Do-hyun leaned forward. Think about it. Our ancestors did not have modern medicine. They did not understand psychology or neurology, but they understood something we have forgotten. They understood that the mind and heart are connected, that sometimes the body shuts down not because it is sick, but because the person has given up, because they are alone. Mina was quiet for a moment. She sat down next to him. You think the Queen is suffering from depression? From loneliness? I think it is more than that, Do-hyun said. The Veltari told me she is genetically designed to be separate from her people, to rule without emotional attachment. But humans are not like that. We need connection. We need love. What if the Veltari are not so different? What if their queen has been alone for so long that her mind has shut down to protect itself? That is a big assumption, Mina said. And even if you are right, what can you do? The Veltari will not let you near her again. Do-hyun opened another file. This one showed medical records from across the galaxy. He had spent the last 3 days searching through public databases. Look at this. 50 years ago, a Peldari leader fell into a similar sleep. No healer could wake him. Then his mate performed what they called a resonance of devotion. She sang to him, touched him, and he woke up. He pulled up another file. 30 years ago, a hive-round broodmother stopped responding to all stimuli. Her hive thought she was dead, but then her children gathered around her and sang a unity song. She woke up immediately. Mina looked at the files with new interest. So there is precedent. But those were cases where the person had existing relationships, family, mates. The queen has no one. Exactly, Do-hyun said. And that might be why no one has been able to wake her. They have been trying medical solutions, technical solutions. But the problem is not medical. It is emotional. She needs someone to show her that she is not alone, that someone cares whether she wakes up or not. Someone like you? Mina asked. There was no mockery in her voice. Only worry. Do-hyun, you do not even know her. You saw her for 30 seconds. How can you care about a stranger? Do-hyun thought about this. It was a good question. Why did he care? He had never met Queen Lyravel. She was not his species. She ruled an empire that saw humanity as primitive children. By all logic, her fate should not matter to him. But it did matter. Because Do-hyun was human, and humans had a strange gift. They could look at another being, any being, and feel empathy. They could see suffering and want to end it. They could meet a stranger and treat them like family. It was not logical. It was not practical. But it was what made them human. I cannot explain it, Do-hyun said. But when I saw her, I felt something. I felt her loneliness. And I knew that no one should have to feel that way. Not even a queen. Not even an alien queen, Mina smiled. It was a sad smile, but also proud. You are going to try to help her, are you not? Even though it could get you killed? Yes, Do-hyun said. Then I will help you, Mina said. What do you need? For the next 2 days, Do-hyun and Mina worked together. They researched everything they could find about the Veltari, about their biology, their psychology, their history. They learned that the Veltari had not always been so cold. Thousands of years ago, they had been an emotional species, but they had nearly destroyed themselves in a civil war driven by passion and jealousy. After that, they had changed. They had used genetic engineering to remove strong emotions from their leaders. To make them rational and logical, it had worked. The Veltari Empire had become stable and powerful, but they had paid a price. They had forgotten what it meant to truly connect with another being. This is the problem, Do-hyun said. Queen Lyravel is caught between two worlds. She is designed to be logical, but she is still a living being. Part of her needs connection, needs love, and because she cannot have it, she has shut down. So how do we fix it? Mina asked. We show her that connection is possible, Do-hyun said. We show her that she is not alone. But how? Mina asked. The Veltari will not let you near her. Do-hyun knew she was right. He had been thinking about this problem for days. He needed access to the queen. He needed time alone with her, and he needed someone on the inside to help him. The answer came from an unexpected source. 3 days after his first visit to the palace, Do-hyun received a message. It was encrypted and sent through unofficial channels. When he opened it, he saw a face he recognized. Captain Velkaris Kim Do-hyun, the message said. I need to speak with you alone. Come to the coordinates I have attached. Tell no one. Do-hyun looked at Mina. She nodded. I will cover for you. Be careful. The coordinates led to a small observation deck on the edge of the palace. When Do-hyun arrived, Captain Velkaris was waiting. She wore simple clothes instead of her armor. She looked tired. "Thank you for coming," she said. "I was not sure you would." "Why did you want to see me?" Do-hyun asked. Velkaris looked out at the stars. "Because I have been thinking about what you said. About the Queen being alone, and I think you are right." She turned to face him. "I have served Queen Lyravel for 20 years. I have protected her body. But I failed to see what was happening to her heart. She spoke to me once before she fell asleep. She told me she was tired. She said she envied species who believed in soulmates. I thought it was just a moment of weakness. But now I wonder if it was a cry for help. What do you want from me?" Do-hyun asked. "I want you to try," Velkaris said. "I want you to do whatever you think might wake her. High Advisor Thelran will not allow it. The Council will not allow it. But I will. I will give you access to the Queen's chamber. 5 minutes. That is all I can give you without being caught." 5 minutes, Do-hyun repeated. It was not much time. "But it might be enough." "Why are you doing this?" he asked. "You could be executed for treason." "Because the Queen is more than a ruler to me," Velkaris said. "She is the closest thing I have to a friend, and I cannot watch her die without trying everything, even if it means trusting a human I barely know." Do-hyun felt a surge of respect for this alien soldier. She was risking everything for someone she cared about. That was something any human could understand. "When?" he asked. "Tomorrow night," Velkaris said. "The medical staff changes shifts at midnight. There is a 10-minute gap where the chamber is unguarded. I will make sure the security systems are temporarily offline. But you must be quick. If anyone discovers what we have done, we will both pay the price." "I understand," Do-hyun said. "Thank you." Velkaris nodded and left without another word. Do-hyun stood alone on the observation deck, looking out at the dying star. Tomorrow night he would attempt something that had never been done before. He would try to wake an alien queen with nothing but human compassion. It should not work. By all logic, it was impossible. But Do-hyun had learned something in his studies. Logic was not everything. Sometimes the heart knew things that the mind could not understand. Tomorrow night he would prove it, or die trying. The news came at dawn. 8 more worlds had fallen to the Krathen in a single night. 8 worlds. Millions dead or enslaved. The Veltari defense network continued to fail without Queen Lyravel's neural signature. Ships could not coordinate. Weapon systems ran at minimal efficiency. The Empire was dying with its queen. High Advisor Thelran stood in the war room, surrounded by holographic displays showing the carnage. His 4 hands trembled with rage and fear. How had it come to this? 10,000 years of stability crumbling in just 3 cycles. "We must try something new," said Councillor Draveth, one of the oldest members of the ruling council. "The conventional healers have failed. We need to take a risk." "What do you suggest?" Thelran asked. "Neural stimulation," Draveth said. "We force her consciousness back into her body. We have the technology. It is dangerous, but we are out of options." Thelran knew it was risky. Neural stimulation could damage the Queen's mind permanently. It could kill her. But what choice did they have? If they did nothing, the Empire would fall anyway. At least this way, they could say they tried everything. "Do it," Thelran ordered. 3 hours later, the medical team assembled around Queen Lyravel's chamber. They had brought equipment that hummed with dangerous energy. Captain Velkaris watched from the corner, her expression hidden behind her helmet. But inside she felt sick. This was wrong. She knew it was wrong. But she could not stop it without revealing her plan with Do-hyun. The lead physician, a 6-armed Mektari named Sevron, calibrated the neural stimulator. "This will send a massive electrical pulse directly into her brain," he explained. "It should shock her consciousness back into awareness. However, there is a 40% chance of permanent brain damage and a 20% chance of immediate death. Those odds are unacceptable," Velkaris said. "Those odds are all we have," Thelran replied. "Proceed." Sevron activated the machine. Energy built up around the chamber, making the air crackle. Queen Lyravel's body began to glow with blue light. The monitor showed her brain activity spiking wildly. For a moment, it looked like it might work. The Queen's eyes moved beneath her eyelids. Her fingers twitched. But then the readings went chaotic. Alarms screamed. The Queen's body convulsed violently. "Shut it down!" Velkaris shouted. "I cannot," Sevron said, panic in his voice. "The system is not responding." For 10 terrible seconds, Queen Lyravel's body seized while electricity poured through her brain. Then finally the emergency systems kicked in. The machine shut down. The Queen fell still. The monitors showed her vital signs dropping rapidly. The medical team rushed to stabilize her. They worked for 20 minutes before her condition became stable again. But everyone in the room knew they had almost killed her, and they had learned nothing. The barrier around her consciousness was still there, stronger than ever. Thelran left the chamber without a word. Felcaris followed him. That was our last option, Thelran said quietly. We have nothing left to try. There is one thing, Velkaris said. Thelran looked at her. What? The human? Kim Do-hyun. Let him try. Absolutely not, Thelran said. He is a primitive. What could he possibly do that we cannot? He said he understood what was wrong with her, Velkaris insisted. He said it was not medical. Maybe he is right. Maybe we have been looking at this wrong from the beginning. I will not let a human experiment on our queen, Thelran said. That is final, but Velkaris had made her decision. She would not watch her queen die because of pride. If Thelran would not give permission, she would act without it. She just needed to move faster than planned. She sent an encrypted message to Do-hyun. Come now. Emergency. Cannot wait for tonight. Do-hyun received the message while eating breakfast with Mina. He read it twice, then stood up. It is happening now, he said. Now? Mina said. But you were supposed to have until midnight. You are not ready. I know, Do-hyun said. But something has gone wrong. I have to go. Then I am coming with you, Mina said. No, Do-hyun said firmly. If this goes badly, I do not want you involved. You have to stay here. If I am arrested, you need to contact Earth. Tell them what happened. Mina wanted to argue, but she saw the look in his eyes. He had made up his mind. Be careful, she said. Do-hyun met Velkaris at a service entrance to the palace. She looked stressed. What happened? He asked. They tried to force her awake with neural stimulation, Velkaris said as they walked quickly through empty corridors. It almost killed her. We are out of time. If you're going to try something, it must be now. But the guards, the security systems. I will handle it, Velkaris said. Commander Baek Jiwoo is waiting at the chamber entrance. He is your military escort. I told him what we are doing.
He does not like it, but he will guard the door.
You will have 5 minutes, maybe less. They reached the chamber level. Commander Baek Jiwoo stood by the entrance wearing his Earth military uniform. He was a tall man with a stern face. This is insane, Jiwoo said when he saw Do-hyun. You know that, right? You could start an international incident. You could be executed. I know, Do-hyun said. And you are going to do it anyway? Yes. Jiwoo shook his head, but there was something like respect in his eyes. 5 minutes. That is all I can give you. After that, I am pulling you out whether you are done or not. Velkaris opened the chamber door. Do-hyun stepped inside. The door closed behind him and he was alone with the sleeping queen. The chamber was exactly as he remembered it. Queen Lyravel floated in the biostasis fluid, her body glowing softly. The machines around her hummed and beeped, tracking every aspect of her condition. She looked peaceful, but Do-hyun knew better. She was trapped, alone, waiting for someone to understand. He approached the chamber slowly. His heart pounded in his chest. This was it. This was the moment that would either save an empire or end his life. He thought about all the research he had done, all the stories he had read, all the cases he had studied. They all came down to one thing: connection, love. The simple act of showing another being that they were not alone. Queen Lyravel, he said softly, even though he knew she could not hear him. My name is Kim Do-hyun. I am from Earth. You do not know me. But I know something about you. I know you are tired. I know you are alone. I know you think no one can understand what you are going through. He placed his hand on the biostasis chamber. The fluid felt cool against his palm. But you are wrong, he continued. You are not alone. I am here. And I am going to show you that someone cares. Someone understands. Someone sees you not as a queen, but as a person who needs help. Do-hyun thought about his grandmother. She had told him the old stories when he was young. Stories of princes who woke sleeping princesses with a kiss. He had always thought they were just fairy tales. But now he understood. The kiss was not magic. It was not romance. It was something simpler and more powerful. It was the willingness to connect, to show vulnerability, to offer compassion without expecting anything in return. He leaned forward. The biostasis field shimmered where his face approached it. He did not know if this would work. He did not know if the field would even let him through. But he had to try. "I am sorry you have been alone for so long," he whispered, "but you are not alone anymore." He pressed his lips against the biostasis field. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the field began to ripple. Energy cascaded through the chamber like waves on water. The machine started beeping wildly. Alarms began to sound. Do-hyun felt himself being pulled backward by an invisible force. He hit the floor hard. The chamber was going crazy. Blue light filled the room. The biostasis field collapsed and the fluid drained away rapidly. Queen Liravel's body lowered slowly until she rested on the platform. Do-hyun pushed himself up, his heart racing. Had he killed her? Had he made everything worse? Then Queen Liravel's eyes opened. They were silver, like moonlight on metal. They looked around the chamber in confusion, then focused on Do-hyun. She opened her mouth and took a deep breath. Her first breath in 3 cycles. "Who?" she whispered. Her voice was soft but carried harmonics that made the air vibrate. "What did you do?" Before Do-hyun could answer, the door burst open. Guards poured in, weapons drawn. Captain Velkaris and Commander Jiwoo tried to hold them back, but there were too many. Do-hyun was seized and pulled to his feet. High Advisor Thelran entered the chamber. He looked at the Queen, then at Do-hyun, then back at the Queen. His silver skin went dark with shock. "She is awake," he whispered. "How is she awake?" Queen Liravel sat up slowly, her body weak from 3 cycles of sleep. She looked at Do-hyun being held by the guards. Their eyes met. Something passed between them. Understanding, recognition, connection. "Take the human to a holding cell," Thelran ordered. "Captain Velkaris, you are under arrest for treason." "Commander Jiwoo, your diplomatic status is being reviewed." As the guards dragged Do-hyun away, he kept his eyes on the Queen. She watched him go with an expression he could not read. He did not know if he had saved her or doomed himself, but he knew one thing: she was awake. And that meant there was hope. Queen Liravel struggled to understand where she was. The last thing she remembered was darkness. Endless, crushing darkness. She had been aware but trapped, like being buried alive. She had heard the healers trying to reach her. She had felt their hands, their machines, their minds pressing against the barrier. But she could not respond. She had been locked inside herself, watching her empire fall apart while she screamed silently. Then something had changed. Someone had touched her. Not with machines or telepathy or force. Someone had touched her with something warm, something gentle, something that felt like hope. And the barrier had shattered like glass. Now she sat on the medical platform, her body weak and shaking. Medical staff rushed around her, checking her vital signs, scanning her brain, asking her questions. But she barely heard them. She kept thinking about the moment she woke up. About the human male who had been there. About the look in his eyes before the guards took him away. "Your Majesty," High Advisor Thelran said, kneeling before her. His voice was full of relief and confusion. "We thought we had lost you. 3 cycles you have been asleep. We tried everything. Nothing worked until the human," Liravel finished. Her voice was rough from disuse. "Where is he?" "In a holding cell," Thelran said. "He broke into your chamber without permission. Captain Velkaris helped him. They both committed treason." "Treason?" Liravel's mind was still foggy, but this cut through the confusion. "They saved my life." "How is that treason?" "They acted without authorization," Thelran explained. "They put you at risk. We had no idea what the human might do. He could have killed you." "But he did not kill me," Liravel said. "He woke me. You said nothing else worked. So how is this treason?" Thelran hesitated. He had not expected this reaction. "Your Majesty, you have been asleep for 3 cycles. Many things have happened. The Empire is in crisis. Perhaps we should wait until you have recovered before we discuss these matters." "No," Liravel said firmly. Despite her weakness, her voice carried authority. "I want to understand what happened. Tell me everything." For the next hour, Thelran explained. He told her about the 47 healers who had failed, about the Empire's defenses falling, about the Krathan invasion, about the desperate neural stimulation that had nearly killed her, about the human named Kim Do-hyun who claimed to understand her condition. Liravel listened to it all with growing understanding. She had been trapped inside her own mind for 3 cycles, but she had not been unconscious. She had heard things, felt things. She had known her empire was dying. and she had been unable to do anything about it. "I want to see him," she said when Thelran finished. "Bring me Kim Do-hyun. Your Majesty, I do not think that is wise. You need rest. The medical team wants to run more tests." "I do not care what they want," Liravel said. "A being risked his life to save mine. The least I can do is speak with him. Bring him to me. Now." Thelran knew better than to argue when the Queen used that tone. He bowed and left to arrange the meeting. 2 hours later, Do-hyun was brought to a formal meeting chamber. His hands were bound. Commander Jiwoo walked beside him along with 2 Veltari guards. Queen Liravel waited inside, sitting on a simple chair. She had refused the throne. She wore a plain robe instead of her royal garments. She looked tired but alert. When Do-hyun entered, their eyes met again. He bowed his head respectfully. "You may leave us," Liravel said to the guards. "Your Majesty," one guard protested, "the human is a security risk." "He woke me from a sleep that your entire empire could not break," Liravel said. "I think I am safe with him. Leave us." "That is an order." The guards left reluctantly. Commander Jiwoo started to follow, but Liravel stopped him. "You stay, Commander. You helped make this happen. You should hear what is said." When they were alone, Liravel gestured for Do-hyun to sit. He did awkwardly because of his bound hands. Jiwoo stood by the door watching. "Tell me your name again," Liravel said. "Kim Do-hyun, Your Majesty." "And you are from Earth?" "Yes, Your Majesty." "How long have your people been spacefaring?" "About 5 years, Your Majesty." "We are very new to the galaxy." Liravel nodded slowly. "So you are what the Council would call primitive. Your technology is basic. Your understanding of the universe is limited. Is that correct?" Do-hyun thought carefully about his answer. "By Veltari standards, yes. We are primitive, but we know some things that more advanced species have forgotten." "Like what?" "Like how to be human." Liravel leaned forward. "Explain that." Do-hyun took a breath. "Your empire is built on logic and efficiency. You removed emotions from your leaders because emotions caused problems. That makes sense. But emotions are not just problems. They are also solutions. Connection, empathy, love. These things matter, not just for happiness but for survival." "The Council says emotions make rulers weak," Liravel said. "Maybe," Do-hyun agreed. "But being alone makes them weaker. You fell into that sleep because you were isolated. Because you had no one to share your burden with. Because you were engineered to be separate from everyone around you. Your mind could not handle it anymore, so it shut down." "How do you know this?" Liravel asked. There was no anger in her voice, only curiosity, "Because we have stories about it. Ancient stories. A princess who falls asleep and cannot wake. No healer can help her. Only a kiss from someone who cares. I know it sounds like superstition, but our ancestors understood something. Sometimes the mind needs more than medicine. Sometimes it needs connection." "So you kissed me," Liravel said. "It was not a question." "I touched the barrier with compassion," Do-hyun said. "I do not know how else to explain it. I showed you that someone cared, that you were not alone, and that broke whatever was holding you." Liravel was quiet for a long time. When she spoke again, her voice was soft. "I remember the darkness. I was aware but trapped. I could hear people trying to help me, but they were trying to fix a machine. They did not understand that I was not broken. I was just tired of being alone, tired of being perfect, tired of carrying everything by myself." She looked at Do-hyun with those silver eyes. "Then you came, and you did not try to fix me. You just showed me that someone understood. Someone cared, and that was enough to let me come back." "I am glad it worked," Do-hyun said, "but why?" Liravel asked. "That is what I do not understand. You had never met me. I am not your species. My empire sees your people as children. Why would you risk everything to help me?" Do-hyun smiled. It was a gentle smile. "Because that is what humans do. We see someone suffering and we want to help. It does not matter if they are strangers. It does not matter if they are different. We care anyway. We cannot help it. It is who we are." Liravel felt something strange in her chest. She had not felt anything in so long that it took her a moment to recognize it. It was warmth, gratitude, hope. "High Advisor Thelran wants to execute you," she said. "He says you committed treason by entering my chamber without permission." "I understand," Do-hyun said calmly. "I knew the risks. Do you regret it?" Do-hyun thought about this. Then he shook his head. "No, Your Majesty. I would do it again. Some things are worth dying for." Liravel stood. She walked to Do-hyun and touched his bound hands. The restraints fell away, dissolved by her neural link to the palace systems. "You will not die," she said. "You saved my life. You saved my empire. You showed me that connection is possible even for someone like me. I am declaring you pardoned of all charges. More than that, I am appointing you as royal physician. You will stay here and help me understand what happened. Help me understand humanity." Do-hyun looked shocked. "Your Majesty, I am not qualified. I am just a researcher. You did what 47 of the galaxy's greatest healers could not do," Liravel said. "You are more qualified than any of them. Will you accept this position?" Do-hyun looked at Commander Jiwoo, who gave him a small nod. Then he looked back at the Queen. "Yes, Your Majesty, I will." "Good," Liravel said. She turned to Jiwoo. "Commander, you will also be pardoned. And Captain Velcaris as well. They acted to save their queen. That is not treason. That is loyalty." "Thank you, Your Majesty," Jiwoo said. Liravel walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Her empire was still in danger. The Krathens still threatened her borders. There was much work to do. But for the first time in longer than she could remember, she did not feel alone. "I have a question, Kim Do-hyun," she said without turning around. "Yes, Your Majesty? In your Earth stories, after the princess wakes up, what happens next?" Do-hyun smiled. "In the best versions, they work together to build something better. They do not just return to how things were before. They create something new." Liravel turned to look at him. There was something in her eyes that might have been a smile. It was hard to tell. She had forgotten how to smile a long time ago. "Then that is what we will do," she said. "We will create something new. Starting with me. I have been alone too long. That ends today." She looked at both humans in the room. "Your species has taught me something important. You have shown me that strength and connection are not opposites. They are the same thing. And if my empire is to survive, we must learn this lesson." Do-hyun bowed. "We will do everything we can to help, Your Majesty." "I know you will," Liravel said. And for the first time in decades, she felt something that might have been hope. 3 days after waking, Queen Liravel stood before the full council. Her neural link with the Empire's defense network had been restored. The shields were back at full strength. The Krathen offensive had stopped cold when they realized the Veltari were coordinated again. 800 ships had retreated to the border. For now, the Empire was safe. But the Queen knew this was only temporary. The crisis had revealed a terrible weakness. If she fell again, everything would collapse. They needed to understand what had happened so they could prevent it from happening in the future. "Bring in the human scientist," Liravel ordered. Lee Hyejin entered the council chamber. She was a neuroscientist from Earth, called in specifically to study the Queen's awakening. She carried a data pad and looked nervous. The council chamber was massive, with holographic displays floating everywhere. The council members sat in a circle, their various alien forms creating a strange assembly. "Lee Hyejin," Liravel said, "you have studied my condition and the method used to wake me. What have you discovered?" Hyejin bowed. "Your Majesty, the findings are remarkable. With your permission, I will share them." She activated her data pad. A holographic display appeared showing brain scans. The Veltari brain operates on specific frequencies. Your neural barriers are designed to protect you from external influence. They work by blocking most telepathic and emotional wavelengths. This is what makes you strong leaders. You cannot be manipulated, but it also means you cannot easily connect, High Advisor Thelron said. "We know this already." "Yes," Hyejin continued. "However, human emotional wavelengths operate on a different frequency entirely. We are not telepathic like many species. Our emotions are chemical and electrical, but in different patterns. When Kim Do-hyun made contact with you, his emotional frequency passed through your barriers because they were not designed to block it." The council murmured. This was new information. "Are you saying humans can bypass Veltari defenses?" Councillor Dravith demanded. "That is a security risk." "Not exactly," Hyejin said. "We can only bypass the barriers if we are genuinely feeling strong emotions. It is not something we can control or weaponize." Do-hyun's compassion was real. That is why it worked. If he had been pretending or trying to manipulate you, it would have failed. Liravel leaned forward. "So humans can reach us in ways other species cannot?" "It appears so, Your Majesty," Hyejin said. "But only through genuine emotional connection, and only in specific circumstances." "Fascinating," Liravel said. She looked at Thelron. This changes things. We have spent thousands of years building walls to protect ourselves from emotional manipulation, but those same walls trap me. Humans can pass through them because their emotions are different. Purer, perhaps. Or more primitive, Dravith muttered. Perhaps, Liravel agreed. But primitive does not mean useless. Sometimes the oldest methods are the best methods. Over the next week, something strange happened in the Veltari Palace. Queen Liravel began spending time with the humans. Not just Do-hyun, but Park Mina and others from the diplomatic mission. She asked them to teach her about Earth, about human culture, about emotions and connections. At first, the sessions were formal and awkward. Liravel did not know how to be casual. She had been trained since birth to be formal and distant, but the humans were patient. Mina brought music from Earth, simple songs about love and loss and joy. Liravel listened with an expression of wonder. "You write songs about feelings?" she asked. "Of course," Mina said. "Music is how we express what we cannot say in words." "We have music too," Liravel said. "But our songs are about battles and history, not feelings." "Maybe that is something you could change," Mina suggested gently. During another session, Do-hyun showed her human art, paintings of sunsets and families and moments of simple happiness. Liravel stared at a painting of a mother holding a child. "We do not have families," she said quietly. "Not like this. Our children are raised in education centers. Parents contribute genetic material, but do not raise their offspring. It prevents favoritism and inequality." "But does it prevent love?" Do-hyun asked. Liravel was silent for a long time. "I do not know," she finally said. "I have never had love, so I cannot say what I am missing." "That is the saddest thing I have ever heard," Do-hyun said. Liravel looked at him sharply. "Why? I have everything. Power, purpose, respect. But not connection," Do-hyun said. "Not someone to talk to when you are sad. Not someone to celebrate with when you are happy. Not someone who loves you just for being you, not for what you can do." "That sounds inefficient," Liravel said, but her voice was uncertain. "It is inefficient," Do-hyun agreed. "Love is messy and complicated and often painful, but it is also what makes life worth living." Liravel thought about this. Then she said, "Tell me about your family." Do-hyun smiled. He told her about his grandmother who raised him, about her stories and her kindness, about how she died when he was 16, about how much it hurt but also how grateful he was to have known her. "She sounds wonderful," Liravel said. "She was," Do-hyun said, "and even though she is gone, I still carry her with me." "That is what love does. It becomes part of you." Liravel felt that strange warmth in her chest again. She was beginning to recognize it now. It was emotion, real emotion, not just the distant echo she had been taught to feel. The council noticed the changes in their queen. She smiled sometimes now. She made jokes occasionally. She seemed lighter. Some council members approved, others worried. "She is becoming weak," Dravith complained to Thelran. "These humans are corrupting her." But Thelran was not so sure. He had seen the queen make decisions in the past weeks. She was still sharp, still strategic, but now she also considered things she had never thought about before. The emotional impact of her choices, the feelings of her subjects. She was becoming a different kind of leader. One evening, Captain Velkaris joined one of the human sessions. She had been curious about what the queen was learning. Do-hyun was explaining the concept of friendship. "A friend is someone who knows your worst parts and loves you anyway," he said. "Someone you can trust completely. Someone who will help you even when it costs them." Velkaris looked at the queen. "Like when I helped Do-hyun reach you, even though it could have cost me everything." Liravel met her gaze. "Yes, like that. You were my guard for 20 years, Velkaris. But were you also my friend?" Velkaris hesitated. "I did not think that was allowed, Your Majesty." "It was not," Liravel said. "But maybe it should have been. You said I spoke to you before I fell asleep. You said I told you I was tired and alone. Do you remember what you said to me?" "I told you that you were the strongest person I knew," Velkaris said. "I told you to rest and that everything would be fine." "That was the answer of a guard," Liravel said softly. "Not a friend. A friend would have said, 'You do not have to be strong all the time. I am here, you are not alone.' That is what I needed to hear. But I never heard it, because I did not allow anyone close enough to say it. Velkaris felt something uncomfortable in her chest. Regret, maybe. Or sadness. I am sorry, Your Majesty. Do not be sorry, Liravel said. It was not your fault. It was the system. The system I maintained. The system we all believed in. But the system almost killed me, so we need to change it. How? Velkaris asked. Liravel looked at the humans in the room. Dohyun, Mina, Yejin. They had taught her so much in such a short time. Not through data or logic, but through simple presence. Through caring about her as a person, not just a ruler. We start by admitting that connection is not weakness, Liravel said. We start by allowing ourselves to feel, to love, to be vulnerable. It will be hard for my people. We have forgotten how to do these things. But if a queen can learn, anyone can learn. She turned to Dohyun. Will you help us? Will you teach my people what you have taught me? Dohyun bowed. It would be an honor, Your Majesty. But I have a condition. Liravel raised an eyebrow. A human making conditions to a queen? You are brave. Or foolish, Dohyun said with a small smile. But here is my condition. Stop calling me by my title. Stop calling yourself by yours. When we are in these sessions, you are not the queen. You are Liravel, and I am just Dohyun. Can you do that? Liravel felt something strange happen. Her face moved in a way it had not moved in years. She was smiling. Actually smiling. It felt foreign and wonderful. I can try, she said. Then she paused. Dohyun. His name felt strange in her mouth, informal, personal, like something friends would say. She said it again. Dohyun. Liravel, he replied. It was a small moment, just two people saying each other's names. But it felt like the beginning of something important. The beginning of a new way of being. For a queen who had been alone her entire life, it felt like coming home. The message arrived without warning. It appeared on every screen in the palace simultaneously, bypassing all security protocols. The Krathen Overmind had something to say. High Advisor Thelran called an emergency council meeting. Queen Liravel arrived with Dohyun at her side. This had become normal over the past month. The human was her advisor now in all but official title. Some council members still objected, but none could argue with the results. The queen was stronger than she had ever been. The message played on the central display. The Krathen Overmind appeared, a massive creature of chitin and nerve clusters. When it spoke, its voice came from thousands of throats at once, creating a horrible harmony. Veltari Queen, it said, we have studied your awakening. We know a human broke your sleep using primitive emotional manipulation. We want this ability. You will surrender the human Kim Dohyun to us for study. In return, we will halt our invasion. If you refuse, we will crush your empire and take him anyway. The message ended. The council chamber erupted in argument. We cannot surrender a guest to the Krathen, Councillor Felmar said. It would be dishonorable. But if we refuse, they will destroy us, Dravith countered. One human life versus billions of Veltari lives. The choice is obvious. No, Queen Liravel said. Her voice cut through the noise like a blade. The choice is not obvious. We do not trade lives. We do not surrender those under our protection. We find another way. Your Majesty, Thelran said carefully. I understand your feelings. But this is war. Sometimes we must make difficult choices. You are right, Liravel said. This is a difficult choice. But giving them Dohyun would not end the war. The Krathen are a hive mind. They assimilate everything they touch. If we give them one human, they will want all humans. Then they will want us. They will not stop until everything is part of their collective. She stood. We need a different strategy. We need to show them something they do not understand, something they cannot assimilate. Dohyun had been quiet during the council meeting, but now he spoke. I think I know what you mean. The Krathen do not understand individual choice. They are a collective. Everything they do is about the group, never the individual. That is why they want to study me. They think my ability to wake you is a technique they can learn, but it is not a technique. It is a choice, a free choice made from compassion. Exactly, Liravel said. So we show them the power of free choice. We meet them face to face, and we demonstrate that some things cannot be taken by force. They can only be given freely. You want to meet with the Overmind? Velkaris said, alarmed. Your Majesty, that is too dangerous. Everything is dangerous now, Liravel said. But this is the right move. I will go to a neutral station. I will bring Dohyun. And I will show the Krathen that humanity and the Veltari are stronger together than the Krathen could ever be alone. The plan was risky, but the council eventually agreed. A summit was arranged on a neutral station in the border zone. Queen Lyravel would attend. Dohyun would accompany her. Captain Velkaris would lead the security detail. Commander Baek Jiwoo would represent Earth's military interests. And Park Mina and Lee Hijin would prepare a demonstration of human Veltari cooperative technology. The night before the summit, Dohyun could not sleep. He stood in the palace gardens looking at the stars. This might be his last night alive. The Krathen were not known for their mercy. If things went wrong, they would tear him apart to study how he worked. "Are you afraid?" Lyravel's voice came from behind him. Dohyun turned. The queen stood there, wearing simple clothes instead of her royal garments. She looked almost human in the soft light. "Yes," he admitted. "I am terrified." "Good," Lyravel said. "Fear means you understand the danger." "But you are going anyway?" "Yes, why?" Dohyun thought about this. "Because this is bigger than me. If we can show the Krathen that connection is stronger than conquest, it could change everything. Not just for the Veltari and humans, but for the whole galaxy. That is worth being afraid for." Lyravel stood beside him. They looked at the stars together in silence for a moment. "I have been thinking," she said quietly, "about what I would have missed if you had not woken me. About all the things I never experienced because I was afraid of weakness. About how wrong I was to think that being alone made me strong." "You were not wrong," Dohyun said. "You were trained to think that way. Your whole society was built on that idea. You could not have known any different. But now I know," Lyravel said, "and I cannot go back. Even if everything fails tomorrow, even if we all die, I am grateful that I learned what connection feels like before the end." Dohyun looked at her. In the month since her awakening, he had watched her change. She smiled now. She laughed. She showed vulnerability. She was still a queen, still powerful, still strategic. But she was also a person, a friend. "We are not going to die tomorrow," he said with confidence he did not quite feel. "You cannot promise that," Lyravel said. "No," Dohyun agreed. "But I can promise that whatever happens, you will not face it alone." Lyravel felt that warmth again. That feeling she had learned to recognize as gratitude and affection. She did something she would never have done a month ago. She reached out and took Dohyun's hand. His skin was warm. His hand was smaller than hers but felt strong. "Thank you," she said, "for everything. For waking me. For teaching me. For being my friend." Dohyun squeezed her hand gently. "Thank you for letting me." They stood together in the garden until dawn. Two beings from different worlds connected by something stronger than technology or power. Connected by simple human compassion. The next day they traveled to the neutral station. It was a massive structure built by a long-dead civilization. The Krathen fleet waited on one side. The Veltari fleet waited on the other. Both sides had enough firepower to destroy a planet. The tension was thick enough to cut. Inside the station, in a large chamber, the meeting took place. The Krathen Overmind's avatar waited. It was 3 meters tall, covered in black chitin with too many eyes and mouths. Behind it stood Krathen warriors, each one a perfect copy of the other. Queen Lyravel entered with her delegation. She wore full royal armor glowing with power, but she did not look afraid. Dohyun walked beside her wearing simple clothes. Behind them came Velkaris, Jiwoo, Mina, and Hyejin. "You came," the Overmind said with its 1,000 voices. "Does this mean you accept our terms?" "No," Lyravel said. "I came to show you that your terms are based on a false understanding. You think what happened between Dohyun and me is a technique, a trick you can learn. But you are wrong. Explain," the Overmind demanded. Dohyun stepped forward. The Krathen warriors moved toward him, but the Overmind held them back. "You can scan me," Dohyun said. "Study me. I will allow it. You will find nothing you can use, because what I did was not a technique. It was a choice. A free choice made from compassion. You cannot harvest compassion. You cannot weaponize love. These things only work when they are given freely." The Overmind's many eyes focused on him. Energy scanned through Dohyun's body, reading every cell, every thought pattern, every neural pathway. The process took several minutes. It felt invasive and wrong, but Dohyun stood still and allowed it. Finally, the scans ended. The Overmind's expression, if it could be called that, was confused. "We see elevated empathy markers," it said. Unusual neural plasticity. Chemical patterns associated with emotional bonding. But no weapon. No technique. Nothing we can extract or replicate. That is correct, Do-hyun said. Because it is not about biology. It is about choice. I chose to help Liravel. Not because I was programmed to. Not because someone commanded me to. But because I saw another being suffering and wanted to help. This is weakness, the Overmind said. You risk yourself for strangers. That is inefficient? Maybe, Liravel said, stepping forward. But that weakness saved my life. That weakness saved my empire. And that weakness is about to change the balance of power in this galaxy. She activated a holographic display. It showed the research Hyejin and the Veltari scientists had done together. It showed new technology, new medical advances, new defensive systems, all developed through human Veltari cooperation. This is what connection creates, Liravel said. Not weakness, strength. The Veltari Empire and humanity are forming an alliance. We will share technology, we will defend each other, and we will reach out to other species who want connection instead of conquest. If you want war, she continued, you will face both our peoples, and you will face the technology we create together. But if you want peace, we offer you a different path. Join us. Learn to value individuals within your collective. Learn that strength comes from choice, not force. The Overmind was silent. Its many mouths moved but made no sound. Finally it spoke. This confuses us. You offer alliance to your enemy? This is not logical. No, Liravel agreed. It is not logical. It is compassionate. There is a difference. The Overmind seemed to process this. Its warriors shifted uneasily. For the first time in their existence, the Krathan collective faced something it could not understand through force. It could not harvest compassion. It could not assimilate choice. These things existed outside the logic of conquest. We must consider this, the Overmind finally said. We will withdraw to our borders. We will observe. If your alliance makes you stronger, perhaps we have been wrong about the value of individuals. It was not a surrender. But it was not 6 months had passed since the summit with the Krathan. The galaxy was changing in ways no one had predicted. The Krathan had not attacked again. Instead, they had pulled back to their territory and remained there watching. Observers from the collective occasionally visited Veltari space, studying the human-Veltari alliance with something that might have been curiosity. But the real changes were happening inside the Empire itself. Queen Liravel had begun the most significant reforms in 10,000 years of Veltari history. She called it the Resonance Initiative, named after the principle Do-hyun had taught her. Connection was not weakness. It was strength. The first change was the most controversial. Liravel established the Resonance Council, a new advisory body that included representatives from all member species of the Empire. For the first time, humans had a voice in Veltari governance. Park Mina became Earth's first official representative, with Do-hyun serving as cultural liaison. Not everyone approved. Councillor Dravith had argued loudly against it. You are giving power to primitives, he had said in a heated council meeting. This will weaken us. No, Liravel had replied calmly. This will strengthen us. We are learning that diversity is not a weakness. Different perspectives make us smarter. Different approaches give us more options. And different species working together create something greater than any of us alone. Dravith had not been convinced. But when the new council helped broker peace treaties with 3 species that had been on the edge of rebellion, even he had to admit the approach had merit. The humans had a way of understanding emotional grievances that the Veltari had always missed. They could mediate conflicts in ways that pure logic could not. The second major change was in how Veltari leaders were raised. For generations, future queens and council members had been isolated from birth, trained to be logical and separate. Liravel ended this practice. Future leaders would still be educated, but they would also be allowed to form relationships, to have friends, to experience love. A leader who has never known connection cannot understand the needs of those who have, Liravel announced. We were wrong to think isolation made us strong. It only made us blind. Captain Velkaris had become instrumental in this new approach. She had spent months studying with human psychologists, learning about emotional intelligence and relationship building. Now she led training programs for Veltari guards and officials, teaching them how to recognize emotions in themselves and others, how to use empathy as a tool for better understanding, It is strange, Velkaris had told Dohyun one day. For 20 years I guarded the queen's body, but I never saw her soul. I was so focused on external threats that I missed the internal one. She was dying inside and I did not notice because I had been trained not to care about such things. You notice now, Dohyun had said gently. That is what matters. The third change was the most visible. Humans began settling on Veltari worlds and Veltari began visiting Earth. Exchange programs brought students and scholars together. Human artists taught Veltari about emotional expression through music and painting. Veltari scientists showed humans technologies that seemed like magic. But the most important exchanges were the simple ones. Families meeting each other, friends forming across species, children playing together. These small moments of connection created bonds that no treaty could match. Lee Hyejan's research had become the foundation for revolutionary new medicine. By combining human emotional understanding with Veltari technology, they had developed treatments for psychological conditions that had never been cured before. Depression, trauma, anxiety. The hybrid approach worked better than either species could have achieved alone. We are learning that the mind and heart are not separate, Hyejan explained in a research presentation. Physical health and emotional health are connected. By treating both together, we can heal what was thought to be unhealable. Commander Baek Jiwoo had taken on a new role as well. He led the first joint human Veltari defense force. Not an army of conquest, but a protective force designed to help species threatened by aggressive empires. They had already assisted 4 smaller civilizations in defending their borders. The sight of humans and Veltari working together had become a symbol of hope across the galaxy. We are not trying to build an empire, Jiwoo explained to new recruits. We are building a community, a place where different species can thrive together, not by dominating each other but by supporting each other. Through all these changes, Dohyun remained at Liravel's side. His official title was Royal Physician and Cultural Advisor, but in truth he had become something more important. He had become her friend, her closest companion, the person she trusted most in the universe. They met every evening in the palace gardens. It had become their ritual, a time to talk without titles or formality, a time to simply be 2 people sharing their thoughts. I have been thinking about something, Liravel said one evening. They sat on a bench watching Earth rise over the horizon. The planet looked beautiful from space, blue and white and full of life. What is that? Dohyun asked. About the future, Liravel said. About what we are building. This alliance between our peoples. These reforms. All of it started because you chose to help a stranger. One simple act of compassion changed everything. It was not just me, Dohyun said. Velkaris chose to help me. Jiwoo chose to guard the door. Mina chose to support the idea. Hyejan chose to study what happened. Every person made a choice. That is the point. Change happens when individuals choose to do the right thing even when it is difficult. I know, Liravel said, but you were the first. You were the one who had the courage to try when everyone else said it was impossible. Do you know what that makes you? Foolish, Dohyun said with a smile. Liravel laughed. It was a sound that still surprised her every time. She had laughed more in the past 6 months than in her entire life before. Perhaps, but also brave, also kind, also exactly what this galaxy needed. She stood and walked to the garden's edge. From here, she could see the palace spreading out below them. Thousands of beings moving through the halls. Humans and Veltari and dozens of other species all working together. I want to make an announcement tomorrow, she said. Something that will formalize what you have become to me, to the Empire. What kind of announcement? Dohyun asked, feeling nervous. Liravel turned to face him. Her silver eyes glowed in the dim light. I want to name you first companion. It is a new position, one that has never existed before. You will stand equal to me in all things, not as a ruler but as a representative of connection, a reminder that even the most powerful beings need someone to share their journey with. Dohyun was stunned. Liravel, that is too much. I am just a human, a researcher. I do not deserve such honor. You deserve it more than anyone, Liravel said firmly. You saved my life. You saved my empire. You taught me and my people how to feel again, how to connect, how to love. If anyone deserves recognition, it is you. But what about your people? Dohyun asked. What will they think about a human standing beside their queen? Some will object, Liravel admitted. Dravith will complain loudly, but most will understand. Because they have seen what we have built together, They have seen how much stronger we are when we work with humanity, instead of looking down on them. And they have seen how much happier I am since I stopped being alone. She walked back to him and sat down. You do not have to accept. This is a choice like everything else. But I hope you will say yes, because I do not want to do this alone anymore. I do not want to rule without someone to share the burden, someone to celebrate victories with, someone to help carry sorrows. I want a companion, and I want that companion to be you. Do-hyun felt his eyes getting wet. Humans cried when they felt strong emotions. It was something the Veltari were still learning to understand. Why are you leaking? Liravel asked, concerned. Are you hurt? No, Do-hyun said, wiping his eyes. These are happy tears. Humans cry when we are very happy or very sad. Right now I am very happy. Then you will accept? Do-hyun nodded. Yes, I will accept. It would be my honor to stand beside you, not as a subject but as a friend and equal. Liravel did something then that shocked them both. She reached out and hugged him. It was clumsy and awkward. The Veltari did not hug. They did not have a tradition of physical affection. But she had seen humans do it, and it seemed like the right thing to do. Do-hyun hugged her back. They stood there for a moment, two beings from different worlds, embracing in a gesture of friendship and trust. Thank you, Liravel whispered. For everything. For seeing me when I was invisible. For reaching me when I was unreachable. For teaching me that strength and connection are the same thing. Thank you for letting me, Do-hyun replied. The next day, at a ceremony attended by representatives from hundreds of worlds, Queen Liravel made her announcement. She named Kim Do-hyun as first companion of the Veltari Empire. She explained what the position meant. She talked about the importance of connection and compassion. For 10,000 years we believed that rulers must be alone to be strong, she said to the assembled crowd.